The impossible request. The Galactic Cooperative had existed for 12,000 years, unifying over 800 advanced species across 3 spiral arms of the Milky Way. They had conquered disease, mastered faster-than-light travel, terraformed inhospitable worlds, and even learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. Their computational arrays could simulate the birth and death of stars with perfect accuracy. Their diplomatic frameworks had resolved conflicts between silicon-based hive minds and plasma-state consciousnesses. But now, they were losing. The observation platforms on the edge of the Perseus arm had first detected the anomalies 6 standard cycles ago. What initially appeared as strange gravitational distortions soon revealed themselves as something far worse. The Void Eaters. They weren't ships or creatures in any conventional sense, but rather shifting geometric structures of perfect darkness that consumed everything they touched. Matter, energy, even space-time itself. The Cooperative's defensive fleets had been rendered obsolete within weeks. Their quantum-entangled communication networks collapsed. Entire star systems vanished. Their populations of trillions simply ceased to exist. The Void Eaters adapted to every weapon, every strategy, every technological solution the greatest minds of the galaxy deployed against them. Ambassador Terex, a luminescent being from the ancient Mori civilization, stood before the Security Council of Earth in New York City. His translucent form shimmered with bioluminescent patterns as his words were translated into human languages. "We have exhausted our options," Terex explained, his translator conveying the deep weariness in his voice. "Our predictive algorithms give us no path to victory. Our most advanced weapon systems are ineffective. 300 billion sentients have already been lost." General Helena Winters of the United Earth Defense Force leaned forward, her weathered face skeptical. "Ambassador, while we're honored by your attention, Earth is barely a century into our interstellar era. Our technology must seem primitive compared to yours. What could we possibly offer that your cooperative cannot?" Terex's colors shifted to a deep blue. "Precisely what we lack, General. Unpredictability. Illogical thinking. Creative chaos." The room fell silent. Secretary General Okafor raised an eyebrow. "You're saying you need our help because we're irrational?" "In the most profound sense," Terex confirmed. "The Void Eaters adapt through pattern recognition. They analyze, predict, and counter with perfect efficiency. The cooperative species evolved toward order, logic, and predictability. But humans," his colors rippled with something like admiration. "Humans are magnificent contradictions." Holographic displays materialized around the chamber, showing scenes from human history, wars and peace treaties, cathedral ceilings and atomic bombs, self-sacrifice and cruelty. You create art that serves no survival purpose. You risk your lives for abstract principles. You make intuitive leaps that defy logical progression. You develop technologies through methods our predictive models would consider irrational. You are simultaneously selfish and selfless, destructive and nurturing. We cannot simulate your next actions with any reliable accuracy." General Winters exchanged glances with Dr. Amara Chen, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "You're saying the very things that make us primitive by your standards, our unpredictability, our illogical approaches, may be the only hope against an enemy that has perfectly countered all logical defenses," Terex completed. "We have watched your species for centuries. Your evolutionary path through a high-gravity, radiation-bathed, tectonically unstable world created adaptability our species abandoned eons ago." Secretary General Okafor rose, her tall frame commanding the room. "What exactly are you asking of us, Ambassador?" "A small team. Your most unorthodox thinkers, warriors, scientists, artists. Those who approach problems in ways our civilizations cannot comprehend. The Void Eaters will reach your solar system within 7 years. Help us stop them, or your world will share our fate." The debate raged for weeks. Some saw it as humanity's moment to prove itself among the stars. Others suspected a trap or manipulation by advanced aliens. Scientific teams analyzed the data provided by Terex, confirming the Void Eater's existence and approach. Religious leaders sought meaning in ancient texts. Children built playground games around the strange geometric shadows that might one day consume their world. In the end, the decision wasn't made by governments but by individuals. When the call went out for volunteers, millions responded. The selection process sought diversity of thought above all else, not just the expected scientists and soldiers, but philosophers, artists, gamblers, and dreamers. The final team consisted of 12 humans from across Earth. Maya Okonkwo, a Nigerian theoretical physicist whose controversial theories on quantum consciousness had been dismissed by her peers. Jack Harper, an Australian Special Forces veteran known for improvising solutions with whatever materials were at hand. Lin Yuying, a Chinese video game designer whose unpredictable AI opponents had revolutionized strategic simulation. Dmitry Volkov, a Russian deep-sea engineer who specialized in creating habitats in impossible environments. Sofia Mendoza, an Argentine psychologist who studied human irrationality and decision-making under stress. Tariq al-Hassan, a Saudi Arabian poet whose work explored the boundaries between order and chaos. Imani Washington, an American nanotechnology expert who approached problems through biological rather than mechanical paradigms. Hiroshi Tanaka, a Japanese disaster response specialist who had developed unconventional protocols for unpredictable crises. Fatima Noor, an Egyptian archaeologist who specialized in understanding vanished civilizations from minimal evidence. Pavel Novak, a Czech probability mathematician who had made his fortune in poker before turning to science. Amara Osai, a Ghanaian medical researcher who discovered breakthrough treatments by deliberately introducing errors into her experiments. Raj Patel, an Indian agricultural engineer who created sustainable farming systems that thrived on disruption rather than stability. They gathered at the newly constructed cooperative embassy in Antarctica, where Earth's magnetic field created the conditions necessary for stable teleportation. The ambassadorial ship, Luminous Horizon, waited in orbit, a living vessel composed of crystalline structures that resembled coral formations stretched into impossible geometries. "I don't know if we can solve this," Maya confessed to Jack as they prepared to board the shuttle. "Their technology is thousands of years beyond ours." Jack checked the simple knife at his belt, the one tool the cooperative had reluctantly allowed him to bring. "That's why they need us. We're not supposed to think like them." Tariq overheard them and smiled. "In my language, we have a saying. The fox sees the trap that the lion misses. We are the foxes, my friends." Ambassador Terex greeted them aboard the shuttle, his luminescence dimmed with what might have been respect. "The Cooperative Council questioned my judgment in seeking your help. Many believe it futile to place our hopes in a species so young, so unpredictable." "Yeah, well," Dmitry grunted, strapping himself in. "Unpredictable is what you're paying for." "We do not use currency as you understand it," Terex began, then paused as several humans chuckled. "Ah, humor based on deliberately misinterpreting my statement. Another human specialty." As the shuttle ascended toward the waiting ship, Earth grew smaller beneath them, a blue marble wrapped in white clouds, home to 7 billion souls who had no idea their fate might rest with 12 unlikely ambassadors. "Where exactly are we going?" Sophia asked, watching her homeworld recede. Terex's colors shifted to a solemn purple. "To the front lines, where the latest cooperative defense has just failed. The system you call HD 219,134. The Void Eaters have consumed 2 planets there already. Our forces retreat in disarray." "That's 21 light-years away," Maya noted. "How long will it take us to get there?" "Approximately 9 of your hours," Terex replied. "Our jump drives operate on principles your physicists have not yet discovered." The shuttle docked with the Luminous Horizon. As the humans stepped aboard the alien vessel, they found themselves in an environment that challenged their every sense. Corridors shifted and reconfigured themselves as needed. Gravity ebbed and flowed like tides. Light seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere. They were shown to quarters designed to approximate human comfort, though the concepts of bed and bathroom had clearly been misunderstood in amusing ways. The ship hummed with a sound just at the edge of hearing, not mechanical, but something almost alive. "I suggest you rest," Terex advised. "When we arrive, you will face a threat that has defeated our greatest minds and weapons. You will need all your human qualities." As the others settled in, Maya found herself drawn to the observation deck, a transparent dome that offered an unobstructed view of space. Earth was already invisible, lost among countless stars. For the first time, the enormity of their situation truly hit her. 12 humans heading into a battle that had defeated civilizations thousands of years more advanced than their own, armed with nothing but their unpredictable, irrational, contradictory human minds. It was absurd. It was illogical. It was humanity's only chance. The human solution. The luminous horizon emerged from its dimensional jump into chaos. The HD 219,134 system had once contained 7 planets and a stable red dwarf star. Now, only 4 planets remained. Where the innermost worlds had been, geometric shadows twisted in impossible patterns. Perfect blackness against the backdrop of space. "The Void Eaters," Terex explained, his luminescence dim with what might have been fear. "They have already consumed 2 worlds and are beginning to feed on the third." Through the observation dome, the humans watched the battle unfold. The cooperative defense fleet, massive ships of crystalline structures and contained plasma, fired weapons that distorted reality itself. Beams that should have torn apart subatomic bonds simply vanished into the darkness. Missiles that carried artificial singularities disappeared without effect. And the darkness grew. "Those are your most advanced weapons?" Jack asked, incredulous. "They were effective in the first engagements," Terex replied. "The Void Eaters adapted. Each weapon works once, perhaps twice. Then they become immune." The 12 humans gathered in what passed for a conference room aboard the alien vessel. Representatives from various cooperative species joined them. Entities of crystalline structures, contained plasma, silicon-based hive minds, and forms that defied human classification. "Show us everything you know about these Void Eaters," Lynn demanded. "Every observation, every failed strategy, every pattern you've identified." The data flooded in through neural interfaces the cooperative had reluctantly provided. The humans recoiled at first from the alien method of information transfer, then adapted with surprising speed. For hours they absorbed, discussed, argued. The cooperative representatives watched in confusion as the humans seemed to follow no logical protocol, interrupting each other, contradicting established facts, making connections between unrelated concepts. "This is pointless," declared High Theorist Mazkaroon, a silicon-based entity that resembled a crystalline spider. "They debate in circles while more worlds die." Fatima looked up from her notes. "We're not debating. We're brainstorming. It's how humans solve problems. By speaking without sequence or structure." Another alien asked, genuinely puzzled. "Sometimes chaos is the only path to order," Tarek replied with a smile. On the 3rd day, as the Void Eaters began consuming the 4th planet of the system, the humans called the cooperative leadership together. "We have some ideas," Maya announced. "None of them follow conventional logic. All of them will sound absurd to you, but that's exactly why they might work." Raj stepped forward. "Your weapons are too perfect, too predictable. The Void Eaters can analyze their approach and neutralize them. We need weapons that change randomly, that even we cannot predict." "Impossible," Mazkaroon stated. "Weapon design requires precision, predictability." "No," Imani countered. "What if we create weapons with built-in entropy? Systems that deliberately introduce random variables into their operation." She projected her designs, nanoswarms programmed not with specific instructions, but with generative algorithms that would create new behaviors in real time, weapons that would evolve during the battle itself. Dmitri and Hiroshi had developed a strategy based on their experience with chaotic systems, earthquakes, and ocean currents. The Void Eaters adapt to patterns, Hiroshi explained. So we attack with deliberate anti-patterns, not randomness, but calculated unpredictability. The cooperative scientists were skeptical, but desperate enough to try. For 2 more days, they worked to implement the human designs, stumbling over concepts that seemed fundamentally irrational to their ordered minds. "I don't understand," one plasma state engineer complained to Maya. "You're suggesting we deliberately introduce flaws into our quantum matrices." "Not flaws," she corrected. "Variables. The difference is intention." As the 5th planet began to show signs of the Void Eaters' consumption, the modified fleet prepared to engage. The humans insisted on joining the frontline command ship despite the obvious danger. "We need to observe directly," Pavel explained, "to adjust our strategies in real time." The battle began with apparent disorder. Ships moved in erratic patterns. Weapons fired with deliberate inconsistency. To the cooperative commanders, it looked like madness. The Void Eaters advanced as they had before, geometric shadows expanding to engulf anything in their path. The first wave of human-designed weapons seemed no more effective than previous attempts. "It's not working," Terex observed, colors flickering anxiously. "Wait," Lynn insisted, eyes fixed on her neural interface display. "Watch what happens when they adapt to the first pattern." As the Void Eaters adjusted to neutralize the attack, the weapons shifted, not to a new fixed pattern, but to a state of deliberate chaos. Some failed entirely. Others operated in ways their designers hadn't intended. The darkness hesitated, then continued its advance, but slower. "Again," Jack shouted. "Hit them with the next variation." 3 more waves of attacks followed, each more unpredictable than the last. The Void Eaters' expansion slowed further but didn't stop. "We need something more," Sophia said quietly. "Something truly unpredictable." That's when Amara stepped forward with her radical proposal. "They adapt to our weapons because they can analyze the underlying physical principles. What if we introduce something that operates outside known physics?" "Impossible," Mascaroon stated. "Not impossible," Amara replied. "Just beyond current understanding. Human history is full of discoveries that worked before we understood why they worked." Her proposal was audacious, to combine cooperative technology with elements of human artistic expression, creating weapons guided not by algorithms, but by emotion and aesthetic judgment. "Art is inherently unpredictable," Tarek explained. "It follows patterns we feel, but cannot formalize." The cooperative scientists objected strenuously, but time was running out. The human team worked through another night, integrating music, poetry, and visual art into the weapon systems in ways that defied logical explanation. The final battle began at what would have been dawn on Earth. The human-modified fleet engaged the Void Eaters with weapons that operated on principles neither side fully understood. Ships moved in formations inspired by dance. Energy discharges followed musical rhythms rather than tactical optimizations. And for the first time, the Void Eaters faltered. The geometric shadows contracted, expanded, then contracted again, as if confused by what they faced. Their adaptation algorithms failed to predict the next attack because there was no logical pattern to predict. "Push forward," Maya urged. "Keep changing the approach." The battle raged for hours. Some ships were lost, consumed by darkness. But the Void Eaters' advance had stopped. Then, incredibly, began to reverse. The breakthrough came when Lynn implemented her most radical idea: weapons programmed to deliberately contradict their own operational parameters, operating simultaneously in mutually exclusive states. Like quantum superposition, but at a macro scale, she explained to the baffled cooperative engineers. Not either or thinking, but both and. The Void Eaters, faced with inputs that defied pattern recognition, began to destabilize. The perfect geometric shapes distorted, twisted in on themselves. Then, with an enormous release of energy that temporarily outshone the system's star, collapsed entirely. In the aftermath, as the surviving ships regrouped, the humans found themselves regarded with new respect by the cooperative species. "You have saved countless lives," Terex acknowledged, his colors brilliant with emotion. "But more importantly, you have taught us something we had forgotten over our long evolution." "What's that?" Jack asked, bandaging a wound he'd received when their command ship had been hit. "That progress comes not just from order, but from embracing contradiction. That predictability is both strength and vulnerability." As they prepared to return to Earth, the humans were offered a permanent place in the cooperative, not as junior members, but as equals. Earth would receive technology, protection, and access to the stars. "And what do you want in return?" Secretary General Okafor asked when they delivered the news. Terex's colors shifted thoughtfully. "Your perspective, your unpredictability, your human chaos. The Void Eaters may return, or other threats may emerge. The galaxy needs what only your species can provide." In the years that followed, human cooperative collaboration transformed both societies. Cooperative technology advanced in directions its developers had never imagined. Human society gained stability and purpose without losing its essential creativity. But the greatest change was philosophical. The galaxy's oldest civilizations learned from its newest that progress doesn't always follow a linear path. Sometimes it requires a step sideways, or even backwards, to move forward again. And humans, looking up at the stars, no longer saw an empty void to be conquered, but a community of diverse minds to be joined. A community that valued them not despite their contradictions and chaos, but because of them. On the 10th anniversary of the victory against the Void Eaters, Maya Okonkwo, now Earth's ambassador to the cooperative, addressed a gathering of species from across the galaxy. "We came to you as primitive newcomers," she said, looking out at the assembled representatives. "You came to us as advanced mentors. Yet in our cooperation, we found neither hierarchy was true. The universe doesn't divide neatly into advanced and primitive, logical and emotional, order and chaos. The greatest strength comes from embracing all possibilities simultaneously." She gestured to the monument being unveiled, a sculpture that somehow captured both perfect geometric order and wild unpredictability in the same form. When different minds meet, neither remains unchanged. That is not weakness, but the greatest strength of all. As the gathered species applauded, each in their own fashion, Maya gazed up at the stars visible through the transparent dome. Somewhere out there, other threats might lurk. Other challenges would arise, but they would face them together, with the full spectrum of thought the galaxy's diverse minds could offer. Order and chaos, logic and intuition, ancient wisdom and fresh perspective. Together, they were stronger than any force the universe could set against them.